What was your I was only gone X minutes, what the hell happened story? Brazil suddenly conceded 5 goals. I grew up in the country. One day in high school, I came home, made myself a snack, and then went back outside to eat my snack on the deck. When I got home, the yard was empty. When I came back out, there was a zebra in the yard. And that's how we found out the new neighbors ran an exotic animal petting zoo. And that they weren't very good at it. They lived there for a couple years, and we got really nonchalant about that zebra getting out. My grandma came to visit once and came in all in a tizzy about it. I think it was even more shocking when our response was basically, that damn zebra again. My grandmother lived in the middle of nowhere but had a couple neighbors. One decided to raise alpacas. You have not lived till you have seen an overweight redneck animal control officer in shorts chase after an angry alpaca with a catch pole. For like an hour. Twice. Went to work one day. I literally lived right across the street from my job, so I walked to work each day. By the time I got to work, my boss told me I needed to go back home, it was an emergency. Apparently my power had been cut off, my stepdad had flipped and scared the shit out of my siblings, and attempted to kill my pregnant mom. Attempted to kill my pregnant mom. I think I need to know how this all shook out. The power department came out and cut off our power due to non-payment of bills. My stepdad started screaming and cussing about it, which scared my siblings. My mom got into an argument with him, telling him to calm down and demanding to know why the power was cut off. He revealed that instead of paying our bills, he'd been blowing all of our money on pot. This led to more arguing. Stepdad got angrier, and started choking my mom, which is when my siblings called my job to have me come home. I had to fight him off. We all got out of the house, went back across the street and called the cops. This was before cell phones were common. Cops come out 45 minutes later, question us, take pictures of the marks on my mom's neck, then go question stepdad. Cops come back and escorts us to the house, tells us to pack bags, and for us to leave. Stepdad gets to stay in the house, even though he wasn't on the lease. They don't arrest him. Tell us we can't come back until my mom has a restraining order against him. We leave, stay with my aunt, and it takes 2 weeks to get a restraining order. Only then are we allowed back in the house, and by then he's trashed most of our stuff. Nothing is ever done to him except the cops finally make him leave. That's super shitty. Why would they kick out the pregnant woman and her kids? I can't imagine how frustrating that must have been. No clue. I was shocked when it happened, so I didn't think to ask. So as weird as it sounds, it could have been for safety, I think? If they kicked the stepdad out, he could easily have just come back and been more shitty? If they left, the stepdad wouldn't know their whereabouts. Possibly. If they were that worried about it though, they could have arrested him for child endangerment, attempted murder, child abuse, etc. First day of summer break after grade 7, I went to a skate park with a few friends, and one of their dads drove us all. He went to get a coffee and said, "Don't break anything until I get back," and I did not listen. I went down a quarter pipe and broke both my radius and ulna on my first try. He got back and I was sitting on a bench holding my crooked arm. Edit, had a 4-day weekend and came back to a million replies. My mother did not help me, I learned to use Ol' Lefty. I'd have been annoyed if that were me. All the man wanted was to sit with a nice cup of joe and watch kids hurt themselves. Fuck, I can't believe I missed this. Edit, I know. I was in middle school. I went to the bathroom because the lesson was boring me out of my mind, you know, I was 12, and stayed there for approximately 10 minutes. While I was returning to class, I saw 2 cops dragging 2 of my classmates. They were handcuffed and visibly terrified. Found out some time later that they were arrested for drugs, and the cops came in the class and handcuffed them right there. Edit, just a detail, they were both 15, because they had to repeat 2 years. Still, IDK how people manage to repeat 2 years of middle school. First year high school, my friend did the same thing, 10 minutes of bathroom break. When he came back, the teacher was projecting porn from his laptop. There was a lot of screaming. Was the screaming from the laptop or from the class? Class, mostly. Some from the laptop too. I would assume most from the teacher. None from the teacher, actually. He was just panicked. Oh, so it was an accident then. For some reason I figured he'd just snapped or something. I imagined him sitting back in his chair, arms folding and smugly staring down the class as the most depraved porn imaginable is playing on the projection screen behind him and all the kids are screaming, crying, and puking. Left the mail room to go get my wipes to clean off the scanner glass. Was gone 3 minutes. Came back to find the entire mailroom coated in toner, and a toner-covered coworker just standing there looking confused and alarmed. Never even asked, just went to get our boss to go deal with it. Edit, thanks for the gold. Oh. Double edit, gold is on a comment down the chain. This visual is amazing, the coworker standing there in shock. I wish I could explain it. It was like the look you'd imagine someone to have when their pet goldfish threatens them with a machine gun. It was a mix of did that just happen, and what the hell? Last time before this I'd seen that look was when a kid dropped acid and told me the walls were talking to him. Edit, thanks for the gold. There, it's in the right spot now. I was watching TV and went to my room to get my phone charger. I was gone max 2 minutes. When I got back a goat was on the coffee table. It scared the shit out of me. Where do you live where goats just appear on coffee tables? I guess I should have mentioned that I was spending a few weeks with my grandparents and they own a farm, but they never had any goats nor did anyone near them. My ex drank too much white wine one night. After we got back to my apartment, I quickly went down the street to grab him some Gatorade or whatever. I was gone maybe 10 minutes, tops. My brother calls me up, we lived together at the time, while I'm walking back and angrily tells me, "You need to get back here now." No details about what's wrong or anything. So I walk into the door of our apartment to find my ex passed out, completely naked. He had clothes on when I left, on the floor between our bathroom and kitchen. My brother pointed ominously toward the bathroom. In the 10 or so minutes I was gone, my ex had somehow managed to smear shit all over himself and every surface in my bathroom. We're talking everywhere. The sink, the shower curtain, the back of the door, the walls, the toilet, even his hair and face, all covered in shitty handprints. It took me the rest of the night to bleach the hell out of everything. I've never seen anything like it in my whole life and it haunts me to this day. The next day, my brother and one of his friends taped newspaper all over the walls and floor in the bathroom because clearly my ex wasn't housebroken. Stupid ex was offended. It was hilarious. Nipped upstairs for a piss. Was gone no more than 2 minutes. Came back down to find my daughter had shat on the living room floor and was gleefully stomping it into the carpet. It's a muddy puddle, daddy. Fucking puberty. Fucking Peppa Pig. Comcast and FedEx both left a "just missed you" on my door when I was gone for 5 minutes to shower during the latter quarter of a 5 to 6 hour time frame. They may well have come and just left the notices without even knocking. I've caught both UPS and FedEx at different points stop, get out with the form, stick it on the door, and run back to their truck. I caught my mail carrier at the mailboxes one day, and he handed me my mail, including a "sorry we missed you" slip. He hadn't even brought the package with him. That explains so much. I experienced being hunted by a tow truck in Chicago. A friend and I were delivering a couple big monitors to his apartment. We pulled around behind the building but he didn't have the key for the back door, so we quick ran around front and came out the back door of his apartment to see the car gone. Like not going, or the tow truck loading up the car. It was gone. We couldn't have taken more than 90 seconds. Tow drivers can hook a car and be gone in like 20 seconds. Yes, I learned the hard way. But I was also being stalked. It's a scam as far as I'm concerned. They basically steal your car and hold it hostage. The worst part is that it took me a few days to even figure out where it was, and in the meantime they charged me outrageous storage fee. Like they were doing me a fucking favor or something. Oh, and they stole some expensive sunglasses. Fuck you, Lincoln Towing. Lincoln Towing is the worst. Towed me right out of my own parking lot because they didn't see my permit. The kicker is that in order to get my money back from their storage fees, it's paperwork on top of paperwork. I'm sure most people just give up because it takes so long. But fuck that, I did it and got every penny back. My friend was towed out of our employee parking lot because her parking tag that hangs from the rear view mirror was backwards. $300 later she flipped it the right way. I would have done everything in my power to get __made __ my company to pay for this. Back in 2008, when everyone was getting $600 tax rebate checks in the mail, I left mine unopened on my coffee table, went to use the restroom, and when I got back I saw the envelope chewed in half and my dog nowhere to be seen. Somehow my miniature dachshund puppy got up on the coffee table, picked through all my other mail to find this specific one, chew it up and run under a bed, all in about 1 minute. I had to tell the IRS that my dog chewed up my rebate check, which was funny. Turned away from a closed pizza box to get plates. Turned back and my cat was running off with a piece. I was having a big steak and a martini while watching a James Bond marathon. Put my fork and knife to the plate to cut off a piece with my eyes still watching TV. Hear clink. Look up to see my cat dragging the whole steak across the carpet. The steak was ruined. When I took it from it he hissed at me for the only time in 11 years. Little bastard can go to hell. That was a good steak. Should have hissed back and ate the steak to assert dominance. A little over a year ago my now husband and I were prepping for a move and needed to take a handful of garbage bags to the dumpster in our apartment community. We patted each of our dogs, a 7-year-old mini schnauzer and a 16-year-old rat terrier, 2 small dogs, this is very important, later on the head and headed out. Less than 5 minutes later we come back, both of the dogs meeting us at the door with wagging tails and big smiles. All seems perfect until we round the corner into the dining room. One of the dogs shat clear up 2 walls, about 4.5 feet up across about 6 feet wide worth of wall. I was laughing too hard to clean it up, the husband saved the day and cleaned it up. But with such force and distance, we can only imagine the absolutely gut-wrenching noise that dog, still not sure which one, had to have made when it did its big business. We were seriously only gone 5 minutes. We now refer to it as the poopening of 2015. The best part of this is the inclusion of the year, as if you need to distinguish it from previous poopenings. I have a 2-year-old. The other day, I ran to the bathroom and he was sitting down. Pacified with Daniel Tiger and homemade trail mix. I came back. Probably 2 minutes later to find a mushroom cloud of flour and him standing on top of a bookshelf with a closed jar of peanut butter and covered in flour. The thought processes of toddlers' minds are still an enigma. It's just grab things as you see them. Stuff on table? Grab it. Stuff up on top of shelf? Climb that shit and grab it. Open bag of flour on the counter? Grab that shit and squeeze it. But then you try and give them something and they refuse it. You asked for milk, you little shit, take the milk. What the fuck do you want? You're the one that asked for the fucking milk, not me. Do you think I poured this shit into a sippy cup for shits and giggles? Drink the fucking milk, you little shit. Just last night, after putting the kids to bed and having a bit of a workout, my wife told me to shower off and get to the bedroom. I jumped in the shower, scrubbed up, rinsed and was out in a matter of minutes. She was already asleep. There's nothing more fun than trying to go to sleep once the launch sequence has been initiated. Back in grade 11, I had my friend and his girlfriend come over to hang out on a night that my parents went home. The worst part was that we weren't drinking. We were all playing Mario Party. I got up and went to the bathroom for literally 30 seconds. I come back and they are completely naked and fucking on my bed. You tag in, bro? Well duh. I said if they wanted to use my bed, it was only fair that I join. So when it was my turn, I peed in her butt. This is my house and my rules. Fell asleep on the couch for like 10 minutes, I swear. Woke up to mayhem, 2 toddlers had scribbled all over the walls. The younger one had begun scribbling with crayon, and the older one, 3, became upset he was breaking the rules. So she grabbed a pencil and began marking gigantic X's as large as she could make. You cannot draw here or here or here. I woke up to the entire first floor covered in pencil X's and crayon scribbles everywhere. Fell asleep. 2 toddlers. Choose one. Edit, obligatory, wow first gold, and my top comment is about sleeping with toddlers, etc. My dog followed me to the door and then I shut it, was in there for about 45 seconds, then opened the door to find puddles of dog diarrhea all over the living room. I was cooking dinner one night. I let the dog off his lead in the backyard and went back to cooking. I was only gone for 2 minutes. When I went back outside, the neighbor's bull mastiff killed my dog and was making his escape. I was too stunned, too hurt to do anything. I reported the neighbor to animal control and the offending dog was taken away. Ever since it's been a daily contest of wills. Me wanting to throw bricks at the guy's house. I have an internal conflict every day, months later, and still do. He was the best dog I ever owned. I live above the pizza place that I work at. I'm also full-time in college. Last night they called me in just for an hour or two to help close, no big deal. After a full school day and going into work for a bit I was exhausted. I walked up the stairs and into my apartment. There was new decorations everywhere, my furniture was gone, and my bedroom door was open. I screamed holy fuck and kicked open the door to see who was in my room. I was only gone for an hour. How could someone move in and move out all my shit? As I made contact with the girl laying in bed watching Netflix, I realized I was on the second floor, not the third floor. The apartment below me has the exact same layout as mine, and this girl happened to have her door unlocked like I usually leave mine. Multiple roommates. I simply said, "Oops, wrong room," and ran back to my room. I'm going to go down today and apologize for scaring that poor girl half to death at 11 p.m. If the 3 rom-coms I've watched in my life have taught me anything, the two of you will fall in love, fight over something and then get back together sometime later to live happily ever after. Good luck. If you have or had small kids, this question has come to your mind more than once. The one stuck to my mind is when I was cooking dinner for my visiting sister and his BF. They were on their way to visit my 4-yo and my pregnant ex-wife. I left the pan for 45 seconds to do something else and came to my 4-yo vomiting over his own poop, strategically positioned in front of the entrance door, and my pregnant ex-wife vomiting over the pan because she couldn't deal with the smell. Sight. Oh, and my sister was ringing the door's bell. I had to call for a pizza. So, my wife is pregnant right now. First trimester is pretty exciting. We were at our friend's house, and I was helping my bro cook some burgers. Wife was hanging out in the kitchen with my buddy's wife, and was holding their baby. I'm walking back and forth between the grill and the kitchen, get a fork, get a plate, oh, get that seasoning, etc. etc. Anyway, I'm in and out of the kitchen for less than a minute and see my wife puking into their kitchen sink, with the entire front of her clothes covered in baby poop. I guess their baby decided to drop the mother of all poop bombs right in my wife's lap. First trimester, so she's totally sensitive to smells and whatever, but she totally lost all of her cookies right in front of everyone at our friend's house. Don't worry. That memory won't even register on the big list of embarrassing shit. I promise. That Super Bowl where Janet Jackson was topless. Well, lucky me, I had to pee right before the halftime show fiasco because it was getting really boring. I whipped my dingy out and everybody started screaming and hooting and I had a mini heart attack and peed on the back of the toilet. Now anytime I feel myself get bored I think about that day and it forces me to stick through the boredom in case there is suddenly boobies. Someone used a fire extinguisher to put out a grease fire. And it was the carbon type, so the cook thought it was the proper fire extinguisher, and regardless of it being the right kind, it was still the wrong thing to do. The problem was there was a huge vat of grease at the bottom of the rotisserie, and when you turn on a fire extinguisher the spray comes out with such incredible force it splashed all the grease out of the rotisserie. Then that grease is all over the floor and it reignited, spreading fire all over the floor. When you have a huge vat of grease burning, there's only one of two things you can do. Close the door to the rotisserie and let it burn itself out. Or toss a bucket of cold grease into the fire. There was a bucket of cold grease near the fire and I kicked it over, put the fire on the floor out. Then I closed the doors to the rotisserie to let it burn itself out. Now a lot of people are thinking, why is cold grease so effective at putting out a fire? Isn't it like tossing gasoline onto a fire? The answer is no, it's nothing like tossing gasoline onto a fire. Cold grease just doesn't catch fire easily. It has to be heated up first, which takes time. The grease cooking in a rotisserie has been heating up for several hours. The reason why the grease in the rotisserie caught fire was that grease is extremely hot, and something pushed it over the ignition point. Grease does not mix with water, so water can't put out a grease fire. But grease will mix with other grease. If you dump a bucket of cold grease into a grease fire, what happens is the temperature of the total volume of grease becomes a compromise between the cold and hot depending on the both heat and volume. If you have enough cold grease, the temperature of the burning grease will be lowered below the ignition point, putting out the fire. If you have a vat of burning grease, if you spray a powerful hose of anything directly into it, it does not matter what kind of fire extinguisher it is, if it's powerful enough, and most of them are, will cause the grease to splash out of the vat and spray all over the kitchen, setting your kitchen on fire. So keep that in mind. If you're using a fire extinguisher, don't jam it into the grease fire, stand back and use it from a distance. I was boiling water on an electric stove top, seemed safe enough. Left for 30 seconds, came back, entire stove was on fire with 2-foot flames. Someone had let some oily food fall between the burner and the tinfoil we keep underneath. Another 30 seconds and the kitchen would have caught fire. Years back I had a lil thing celebrating my new apartment. Just a few close friends and a couple of not-so-close friends. We were having a good time, drinks were being had, and eventually the need for greasy takeout food was too strong to ignore. Everyone was pretty marinated, some more than others, but driving was out of the question. Me and my bro take everyone's orders and we stroll to the taco place around the corner. When we return, most everyone is on the porch having smokes. Everything seemed normal. When I walk into the apartment, there he is, we'll call him Waldo, passed out on my couch, vomit running down the side of his face, vomit dripping down my new couch, vomit on my brand new rug. Apparently, when we left they started chigging whiskey, which obviously didn't agree with OL Waldo. I only went for tacos. Next time Waldo goes for the tacos. 3 hours later, where the fuck is Waldo? Have you ever raised a puppy? Can confirm. If my eyes weren't on her for 30 seconds she would find something to destroy to entertain herself with. A ball of yarn, my shoe, my underwear, a sock, a roll of toilet paper, a roll of paper towel, a plastic bottle. Everything was fair game. Everything. Last night I set up a printer on the floor to print something and she was startled by the noise and paper coming out. So I printed an extra test page for her reaction, then made it into a paper airplane and threw it. She launched after it before it even hit the ground and spent the next 10 minutes killing it. Can confirm. If my eyes weren't on her for 30 seconds she would find something to destroy to entertain herself with. A ball of yarn, my shoe, my underwear, a sock, a roll of toilet paper, a roll of paper towel, a plastic bottle. Everything was fair game. Everything. Shit, I've got a Roddy who's 11 and he's still exactly the same. Socks are his mortal enemy that he must hunt down and tear into 4 million pieces. Was at work. Went outside to grab a smoke. Come back in and one of the receptionists that I had a crush on is blushing and everyone else is laughing. I ask what happened and they let me know that she got her belly button pierced the night before, and wanted to show everyone, but was wearing a dress. She decided to flip up her dress to show everyone anyway, and forgot she wasn't wearing any underwear. Still can't believe I missed that one. One night in college I left my apartment to go to a party at my girlfriend's place. I headed over early, maybe 8ish, to just hang out and drink beer because college girl parties are weird and dumb and start at 11 for no goddamn reason. But I digress. About an hour later I realize I'd forgot my weed, so I walked back to my place. I hear music thumping and figure there's no way it's my apartment. My roommates weren't big party people. Get outside the door and it's my place. I open the door. The lights are off. A strobe light is going. Weird techno-ish music is blasting. Most of the dudes present are shirtless, seemingly tripping balls, and totally covered in red paint for some reason. Unintelligible yelling in my direction as I walk in. Just need my pot, you guys have fun, I have to go now, bye bye. I had a baby pet turtle. I left Sherman Myrtle in a Tupperware dish on my nightstand. I come back, maybe 5 minutes later, turtle is on top of a separate dresser, out of his container. One of your siblings or your folks was messing with you. Or it was the hobo that lives in your attic. Either way. Just today, a friend of mine went to the toilet and when she came back her boyfriend had dislocated his elbow and been sent to the hospital. Several years ago, I was in the process of making dinner and had left a plate of flour tortillas on the kitchen bar. Went out to the garage with my husband for about 90 seconds to look at something. Hear a very loud thud from kitchen. That thud was our dog jumping down off the bar, and now standing in the middle of the kitchen, wolfing down flour tortillas like they were going out of style. What makes it funny is that our bar is about 42 inches high, and the dog was a basset hound. A freakin' fat stubby-legged basset hound. To this day, we still can't figure out how he got up there or how he got down without breaking a leg. One night I was on my own and decided to make a nice meal for myself. I spent about half an hour preparing and baking a delicious chicken breast with sun-dried tomatoes and brie cheese. So I got everything ready, set up my dinner and my beer on the coffee table and sat down to eat and watch some TV. At this point my cat waltzed in and sat on the couch next to me. Then he dropped something out of his mouth next to me. I turned to look at it, it was a snake. Shit. Okay, no big deal, it's not a big one. So I got up and grabbed some snake wrangling tools, a dustpan and brush, and scooped this little guy up. I walked out the front door and tossed the snake back into the bushes, hoping the cat won't go after it again. I was gone for about 15 seconds. I came back inside and my dinner was gone. The cat was under the table, hunched over a half-eaten chicken breast, and growling every time I came near. And that's the first time my cat distracted me with a snake in order to steal my dinner. I actually have that moment to my friends. I was outside at a house party and needed to pee. There was someone in the bathroom, so I told my friends I was going to go around to the side of the house to pee where no one could see. A few minutes later, I came back all bloody and dirty and they freaked out. What I didn't know was there was a steep ditch right next to the house. Being a female, if I pee outside, I try to support myself by doing a sort of wall sit so I don't wind up peeing on my legs or clothes. So I pulled my pants down and tried to do the wall sit on the side of the house. I was crazy drunk, so I lost my balance due to the incline of the ditch, scraped myself up on the brick wall trying to catch myself, and tumbled pants down in the ditch. I pulled myself up, went back to my friends and said, I think it's time for me to go home. Was only gone 5 minutes, missed 3 new versions of iPhone, Samsung Galaxy. They all now have 12 inches screens, are a millimeter thin, and can be unlocked by scanning your pubic hair. Well shit. My vulva is smoother than a veal cutlet. I got up to get salsa and when I returned my plate was upside down on the floor and both of my microwave burritos were missing. And my cat was nowhere to be found. I was working on my senior chemistry project in college. Brought samples down to the NMR room for analysis. Forgot something upstairs, ran up to grab it, came back down and found a metal folding chair stuck to the instrument. An NMR is similar to an MRI machine in that it is a gigantic sensitive magnet that metal should never be near. In this time I went upstairs. Another student thought she had left a sample probe in the instrument, couldn't eject the probe, and brought the chair over to look down into the instrument to find it. Chair got stuck to the instrument and she had to find my professor to remove it. Luckily the magnet did not quench upon chair removal. If the magnet quenched you'd have very little time to get the fuck out of the room before asphyxiating on the nitrogen and helium. My grad school had a very nice NMR which was cooled by liquid helium and liquid nitrogen. One day I walked into the room and saw the air was wavy over the instrument and got a bit lightheaded, and thankfully the head of the instrument core saw what was happening and had the presence of mind to pull me out of the room quickly. Not gone per se, but asleep. I was flying LAXSFO, my flight was delayed about 5 hours, so I did what any sensible frequent traveler does. I went to the club lounge and drank as much free bourbon as they would allow. We finally boarded the plane. I was in one of the first groups because again I fly a lot. So, by the time we take off I'm fast asleep. The captain comes on the intercom and says don't panic, seatbelts on etc. Drunkenly I look out the window to see some smoke, and holy shit there's smoke in the cabin? The lady next to me explains we have only been in the air 10 minutes and are about to make an emergency landing in Santa Barbara. I left my 2-year-old twins for 2 minutes. They were happily glued to the TV and I thought it was the perfect opportunity to sneak to the kitchen and finish making my coffee. They continued being quiet and I found it strange as they normally come and follow me when I leave the room. I came back and there was soil scattered all over my carpet. One was feeding the other a plant. When I went to the bathroom for the first time during calculus, holy fuck was that a mistake. First baby, wife has never left our little girl but decides to run an errand leaving me, dad, alone with her. I assure wife all will be well in her short absence, kid is sleeping in my arms, all is quiet, give wife a kiss and she heads out the door. Walk back to sofa with sleeping kid, notice kid could use a diaper change, set baby on changing table. I take off old diaper, baby wakes up. Proceeds to erupt with a volcano of projectile diarrhea, it's all over me, changing table, wall. I panic, pick up baby still hemorrhaging, an unending spray of baby turd mist, take her to the kitchen sink and flip on water, water is cold, set baby in sink, baby screams like a demon. Wife opens the door, forgot her purse, shit all over the walls and floor, desperate shit covered husband wrestling with desperate freezing shit covered baby, wife was gone maybe 90 seconds, max. Baby powder. Everywhere. I'm talking in the silverware drawer, under the couch, inside the couch, on top of the pictures frames. It clogged, broke the vacuum, I slipped on a thin layer of it trying to get the vacuum out of the closet, baby powder on tile is very dangerous. I hate baby powder. When my daughter was around 3.5, I picked her up from daycare on my way home from work, walked in the door and set her down in the living room to play while I put the mail I had grabbed on the way into the house on the table in the kitchen, which was less than 10 feet away. I drop the mail on the kitchen table, turn around and walk back into the living room and she's butt naked. It was literally less than 5 seconds, I'm still amazed when I think about it. I can't even get my shoes off that fast. This will probably be buried, but here goes. I wasn't the one gone, but I was in a room where all hell broke loose in a matter of minutes. I was an nurse at the time and a trauma came in where a guy broke both legs after jumping from a second story. It actually wasn't so bad, but we had the X-ray technician bring the portable X-ray machine to the trauma room and snap a couple shots of his legs. When this is done, the guy goes straight to the OR. Sounds intense, but it was an organized trauma, guy was pretty stable the whole time. X-ray tech leaves along with the rest of the docs, and I'm left behind with a few other nurses cleaning up to prepare for the next trauma to come in. Our trauma coordinator, whose background is in nursing, comes down for a walk through and we begin chatting casually. While this happens, EMS rolls in with a guy and they say they found him unresponsive underneath a parked car, so no way the car hit him, but he's not responding to anything. I give him a huge purple nurple, but not even a peep comes of him. Trauma coordinator notices blood coming from his ear, and just mutters, "Shit, skull fracture." This is where all hell broke loose, as we were not prepared for what was to come. Trauma coordinator shouts at the clerk to stop registering other patients and overhead page an attending to trauma room, along with the level 1 trauma team, highest level, and a respiratory therapist. We wheel the guy into the trauma room. At this point, it's all nurses so we all know what to do. EMTs are confused, as they suspected it was just a drunk guy sleeping it off, but they were WAAAAAAYYYY off. Within 2 minutes, his clothes are cut off, we have him hooked to the monitor, 2 IVs are being placed in either arm, our trauma coordinator is putting a cervical collar on him, and another nurse is pulling out RSI, rapid sequence intubation, meds. As our doctors walk in, the guy finds new life and becomes slightly combative, but we can handle. Doctors hear the story and are glad we called a level 1, but not sure why we paged the respiratory therapist. The guy took a turn for the worse when he begins to have a massive seizure. Our trauma coordinator says, "That's why." Doc shrugs his shoulders and says, "All right, let's tube him." Maybe 5 minutes have gone by at this point, but the guy responded well to the meds, we get the tube in, respiratory has come down, he's on the respirator, and the trauma team finally shows up. The room is packed just for this one guy and we tend to throw things on the ground as we're working so it's a bit of a mess. The X-ray tech is called again to confirm tube placement and do other bedside X-rays before we take him for a CAT scan. The guy decides to put on a show. He starts to wake up and reach for his tube. We try to get restraints on, but this man has somehow become the Hulk, so equipment is flying as we hold on for dear life, and sedate him, but these meds are not working. The guy got 16 milligrams of Ativan, 20 milligrams of Versed, but didn't stop fighting until we gave him more etomidate. All of this could put down a couple of horses. Everyone is sweating, the room is a mess, some blood has been spilled, from the patient, but the patient is stable. Outside we hear the X-ray tech, "Why are they paging me? I just left." He walks in and just shouts, "What the fuck? I just left 10 minutes ago." TLDR X-ray tech leaves after taking an X-ray of a leg only to come back in 10 minutes to a giant clusterfuck of a patient. I went out to get the mail, and when I come back everyone is scrambling to get dressed to go to the hospital because my sister's water had broke. I was asleep, and woke up to the sound of my husband shouting frustratedly at his son, who was 16 at the time. "You've just waded through knee-deep water, out through your bedroom, and down the hallway. You tell me, mate, why do you think the Wi-Fi isn't fucking working?" I smiled for a second before I realized that, oh shit, our little bungalow has flooded. I left a patient who was not confused alone for like 5 minutes, came back to all 3 IVs ripped out, blood and pizza sauce everywhere, while the incredibly obese patient hiked his leg over the bedrails firing shit all over the floor and screaming, "Bombs away." Jesus fucking Christ. I wanted to try tattooing, bought a gun, practiced on some oranges and stuff, had some friends come over and one of them volunteered to get a simple little bomb done on him. Did it, turned out good, went for a smoke break for 5 minutes and then came back into the rest of the guys tattooing themselves with the same damn needle. One of them tattooed a circle on their arm by literally holding it like a child holds a crayon and just did overlapping circles. Imagine you do a light sketch with a pencil to make a circle, and the other tattooed his ex-wife's name across his forearm in a similar fashion. Started okay but slowly got bigger and worse near the end of the name. Serious WTF moment. You got some dumb friends, dude. A regular day in the gym, was working out my back, a couple guys were doing flat bench and shooting the shit. I had to go take a leak, was gone for 2 minutes, tops. Come back to see one of the guys sporting a pec tear with a spectacular purple bruise blossoming on it. He was crying, practically bawling while a doc tended to him. Turns out, while ego benching, he tried to do 405 and paid the price. My girls were, like, 4 and 6 years old. One summer evening I left them at home with their dad while I ran to the store to pick up a few things. I couldn't have been gone an hour. When I pull into the driveway and get out of the car I can hear both girls screaming and their dad roaring. I sigh SND, straighten my shoulders and walk into the house braced for whatever disaster is awaiting me. I go through the front door, round the corner and see my husband lying in the hallway holding his head. His roars have subsided to a painful groaning. I hear scuffling behind the girls' closed bedroom door. I step over my husband's prone form and burst into the bedroom and catch the girls in the process of climbing out their bedroom window. I got everyone settled down and finally got the story out of them. It seems my husband thought it would be hilarious to scare the girls, so he got out the scream mask, put it on and tiptoed down the hall and stuck his head through the half-open door. Before he could make any scary sound the 6-year-old glanced up and saw him and immediately leapt to her feet and slammed the door, pinning his head. When he recoiled from that impact he staggered backward, cracking the back of his head on our bedroom door frame and collapsed to the floor. The girls were planning to escape next door. The moral of the story is don't mess with defenseless little girls, sometimes they'll fuck you up. It was bath time for my 2 kids when they were about 2 and 6. ALLCA lawn, fished the 2-year-old out, dried him off, put pajamas on and sent him on his way. Fished 6-year-old out, dried him, put pajamas on, then headed out to the living room. Discovered 2-year-old with face covered in red Sharpie spots. He was alone for perhaps 45 seconds. He'd recently seen an episode of Fireman Sam where Naughty Norman does this to fake having measles. Thanks for watching our video. If you like it, please smash the subscribe and like button to support the channel, so that we can create more quality content in the future.